straight.
Yeah. It's a learning curve.
We'll get it. We ain't gonna let you have it.
Jessica will at least. To make sure you don't mess up.
All right. I have 6 o'clock on January 14th, 2025, call to order the Upson County Board of Commissioners. Are we live on YouTube? Okay. All right. First order of business will be Reverend Todd Turner will lead us in an invocation. If you'll please stand, and we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's go to the Lord. Father, we come to you for a moment, Lord, where we hope good things are going to happen for our county. We ask forgiveness of our sin and cleansing, Lord. And now with our new commissioners who are here, they're going to start off a new year in a time of hopefully refreshing for our county. I want you to bless this meeting, Lord. Allow everybody to listen, everybody to be patient, and everybody to take what's said and what's done and let it be good for Upson County. Bless our commissioners and bless those who are here, Lord, and guide us. For we claim this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Okay, first item of business is approval of today's agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we remove item F, consideration of SPOS funds, purchase vehicles for the sheriff's office, to a later meeting when the sheriff has time to gather some additional information for us.
I have a second. Everybody in favor? Yep. Okay, we'll remove F. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
So, all in favor? All right.
Commissioner Biggs.
All right. Okay, next thing on the agenda is public comments. Remind everyone, state your name and address and direct comments to the chair. We'll start off with Kathy, is it Haley?
Healy, yes.
Healy, I'm sorry.
Tell me when to start. Do you have a timer?
I think she has a timer.
Okay, sorry.
All right.
My name is Kathy Healy. I live at 512 West County Road. I was honorably discharged from the U.S. Air Force in '91. May my comments be made a matter of public record. Jan Dell, an independent oil and gas industry expert and chemical engineer who has consulted in more than 45 countries, said that the environmental health and safety problems at Brightmark can be expected. She said that such companies are grappling with difficult to impossible technical challenges and highly combustible plastic residues, that advanced or chemical recycling of plastics won't work and actually risks lives. She said they are putting workers, firefighters, and the community at risk. Most advanced recycling terms use a form of pyrolysis, the process of breaking down matter using high temperatures. According to H. Takeda, a geochemist at the University of Tokyo, who has studied waste pollutants for decades, pyrolysis can generate toxic waste such as dioxins. Cruz et al. In their 2014 study state in the publication Science Direct that proximity to waste incinerators and chemical factories can result in exposure through inhalation of resuspended dust in contact with polluted sediments. Investigators Hopewell et al. Stated that the process of burning plastics can indirectly generate dioxins, furans, mercury, and polychlorinated biphenyls. Dioxins are highly toxic compounds that pose significant risks to human health This has been substantiated by numerous studies. Roy Bisnet was hired in 2020 to run the chemical and refinery operations at the Ashley, Indiana Brightmark Plastics Recycling Plant. He was intrigued at the concept of turning plastic waste into fuel with what Brightmark had called proven technology. He said he was excited about the company's ambitions. However, after working there 2.5 years, he resigned because of differences in philosophies over environmental health and safety matters. He also said it was hard to reconcile the company's environmental marketing with its environmental and safety performance, citing fires, the handling of the 2022 oil spill that took weeks to clean up at the Ashley, Indiana Brightmark plant, the plastic dust issues, and a lack of attention to what he called process safety management and improvement. The Brightmark plant in Ashley, Indiana has had its share of environmental hazard events and fallout, including the oil spill in 22, like I mentioned, multiple fires at the Indiana Brightmark plant, where safety protocols failed, and at least one of them, and also a former employee sued the company in federal court claiming lung damage from plastic dust. Even with the best of innovative technologies, accidents happen. The Brightmark Circulatory Center proposed to come to Thomaston would be approximately 4 times the size of the plant in Ashley. One fire here at a Brightmark facility would forever scar the reputation of this town. No amount of gaslighting about the so-called wonders of re-engineering plastic waste would be able, after an event, to hide the dangers of this technology. A fire or accident of any sort in one of these plants can and has laid waste to safety protocols. One fire could wipe out infrastructure, businesses, injure and or kill livestock, and possibly irreversibly damage the health of the people in this region. One fire, that's all it would take. And the plant in Ashley, Indiana has had at least one major fire and reportedly several other fires. Who wants to live and work in a town that would be known as a town that had a catastrophic fire at a controversial $879 million plastic recycling plant that was touted to bring in big money despite the known and well-established health risks, as I mentioned? The health and welfare of the people that live here is priceless. We don't want to breathe and drink highly carcinogenic dioxins and other well-known hazardous molecules. Revenue gained could be revenue lost, plus a whole lot more with just one fire. Do not allow Brightmark to come to Thomaston. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've left a packet also of.
Next up, Reverend Bob Turner.
I'm Reverend Claude Turner, 129 Lucille Drive, Thomaston. I want to speak on the boards or committees, whatever y'all want to call them. New commissioners should be able to choose the people who are going to work with them. When the old one's moving off, select. A lot of times that can cause a problem because their agenda, their ideas, are what the old commissioners wanted to do. So the new commissioners, y'all should choose your committees or boards. I don't know what your bylaws state or your policies, but y'all should be able to choose them to work with you with your agenda. And I strongly suggest that the commissioners visit this and take care of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rusty Bikes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Board. My name is Rusty Blackton, 387 Fanborough Road, The Rock, Georgia. I have been troubled for the last month about some actions that were taken by this board at the last meeting. And I applaud you, Mr. Brew, for asking the appointments to be put off till you and Commissioner Biggs could be seated on the board. It's a traditional thing, but traditions are made to be broken. There's nowhere that's mandated that it must be appointed at that time at the end of the year. While I was chairman, there were times we could not even appoint or fill positions till even the month of March. and there was no committee that, or board that would have fell through the cracks from January 1 to January today, 14. I don't know what the changes have been in the last 8 years as far as applications. I don't know if the qualifications, if interviews was done. I just feel like there was a grave injustice done to some people here in our community. And I'll just take one board for an example. Planning and zoning. Ms. Alicia McKinley was appointed to that board, I'm guessing 8 to 10 years ago. Johnny Dawson has served probably 6 years. Joel Pitts, a period of 16 to 18 years. They found out about this the next morning. And speaking with Mr. Courier yesterday morning, he said he has never worked with a finer board than what he had. They were very dedicated, very thorough, and they worked hard in the planning and zoning. But yet they were replaced with 2 new applicants on the board. I sometimes question if there's some nepotism there. I'm not going down that road. But all the people that were replaced was fully trained. Now we have 2 candidates or 2 new members that's going to have to be sent off by the county to get all the training. But the past members, they have taken time out of their daily life to go to Lawrenceville, Macon, and Athens, wherever these classes were, to get trained to try to better the community in Upson County. I understand there was a comment made by Mr. Pitts at a public meeting that didn't sit well. I understand from Mr. Curry that the whole board was called in and directed by the attorney what they should, how they should address issues like this. Well, if it was such a grave concern at that time, why wasn't Mr. Pitts terminated at that moment? But no, Mr. Pitts came up and challenged the board in the month of November when the board was trying to act on 100+ ordinance changes and told them they couldn't do it because it was still in their hearing. I think he ruffled the past chairman's feathers on that, but that's just my opinion. But he was called in one day prior to appointments by the last administration and asked to resign. I think he's been done an injustice. He investigated, he worked, and was very thorough in his position over there. There's been an open records request to the County Board of Commission asking for the applications of all the people that applied for these jobs. Only names have been submitted. Gentlemen, this is not a brainstorm. A 3-page application, the only thing is protected, as the attorney has advised, was that we need to protect the personal information. All that's on those applications, your name, address, telephone number, and email. You can redact that at it's very simple. I mean, my wife worked for the GBI, and they had to redact cases, but they furnished them. Yes, you could 3-stroke take out address, telephone number, and email, and everything else should be public knowledge as to their qualifications or their education to serve on these boards. But just 24 hours ago, a member that's been appointed was sat right here in this room, and when Mr. Courier informed them that he would offer an orientation program if they were interested in one of the new board members, you know what he said? Not really. Then his next question, how long will this take? It's on your application. Are you aware of the time it may take to fulfill this position? But yet your new appointee is already concerned about how long is it going to take me to find out what this board position is even about. Does that show dedication? Does that show interest in the position? It doesn't to me. I'm sorry. But I reckon what I better get out of it right quick, I respectfully request that this board rescind the appointments that was made by the previous board to investigate the candidates and choose the best candidate for the job that's the most qualified. That's just my opinion. It's worth 2 cents and you can buy a piece of bubble gum with it.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Jacqueline Lewis.
Hello. Jacqueline Lewis, 1978 Picker Road. Mine is really simple. I know that you can see the planning meetings online, the nights that they're there, but I have went back and looked, and it's been several years. There's no agendas or minutes that are posted on the website, and I just request that those be posted after each meeting.
Would you yield the rest of your time?
All right, Rusty, I'll entertain it. If you have something to say with that.
One other point I wanted to make. It was stated in the planning zoning meeting yesterday, it's online on record now, that the newly elected chairman, Mr. Fallon, wants to meet with the board to get directions from the board as to where you want them to go with all these ordinances, what you would like to have. That is not your job. It's their job to review these ordinances, to go through them, work through them, make recommendations, and bring them to you for approval. It's not for you to tell the board over there what you want or how you want these ordinances done. That's left up to them. That's the only comment I have left.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up, Mr. Tax Commissioner Andy Chastain.
Thank you, Chairman. Andy Chastain, 116 West Main Street here in Thomaston. First, I want to say congratulations on your new chairmanship. I wish you the best of luck working with everybody. I hope you bring to this board unity with government officials, constitutional officers, unity with other government entities. Yes, there has been some seeds planted from the previous board. Some of those seeds were good, and some of those seeds are going to produce questionable fruit. And what I mean by that is it's going to affect the taxpayers. And I hope that you can live up to your commitment to make the right decisions based on the taxpayers' best interest. I too want to address what happened at the last board meeting. I'm sure most of you read my comments in the paper. I've done a little more research, and it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what happened. I think everybody here sitting on this board knows what went down. I want to go ahead and make this statement in case I don't have time to get it out. I too would like to see the board entertain those positions, those appointments to be rescinded and start the process over again and talk to everybody that made an application. It's my understanding there was at least one that was not contacted at all until they received a notice that they had not been chosen. And it's about being fair. I was doing a little research, and we use the word nepotism. I think it's more along the lines of cronyism. Let me read a definition of cronyism. It occurs when people in power or authority use their influence to favor friends or associates, regardless of their qualifications. It's a form of corruption in many organizations, including businesses, governments, and nonprofit organizations. This practice can solidify organizational power structures, making it challenging for individuals with the right connections to advance or succeed. It can create a culture of favoritism and exclusivity where merit and performance are not the primary drivers of success. Another definition: cronyism refers to the practice of individuals in positions of power or authority using their influence to favor close friends, associates, and allies despite their experience. It often involves relationships beyond the workplace, such as friendships or political alliances. In essence, cronyism is a specific type of favoritism involving personal relationships to gain advantages. Cronyism is unethical. It lacks in fairness. It gives preferential treatment to individuals. It's a breach of trust. How do you evaluate ethical dilemmas like this? And it's simple. Treat others. We've all heard about the golden rule. Treat others as you'd want to be treated. If somebody were in a different position and you were seeking an application to be at that position, it wouldn't be fair. Let me tell you a quick story. I can see right now I'm not going to be able to get to my book that was given to me about the wisdom of the bullfrog. It's about leadership and what you should do to be an effective leader, but it all revolves around fairness and admitting your mistakes, okay, and owning up to it. quick story. Just this last year, last election, I got ethical violation filed against me, unintentional on my part. I mailed out a brochure and had my own envelopes, paid for the postage and all that, and it inadvertently got stamped with official tax matter. Long story short, I was turned in. I fully disclosed everything, showed my receipts, I paid my fine. I don't want this to, what happened, I don't want it to turn into an ethical dilemma, but I'm afraid that's what it's going to turn into if it's not correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have 2 items on the agenda. Does anybody wish to pull anything from the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Have a second? Okay.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Chairman Brew,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Biggs.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. First item, discussion and consideration of surplus vehicles and equipment.
Mr. Chairman, how you doing? Thank you. It's been a while since we've submitted any vehicles or equipment for surplus. We have 8 vehicles on the list here, if my count is correct. Part of this request is not only for the board to approve surplus in these vehicles, but also the selection of a company to help us in selling those vehicles. Historically, since I've been here, we have been using a company by the name of T. Lynn Davis out of Macon. And in other documentation that I provided support, we had reached out to them and 2 online companies. Unfortunately, Mr. Davis passed away, I think this month actually, and the business has been closed. So there were 2 viable online options to be able to sell vehicles. I actually, when going through and talking with both of those companies, preferred TAC. They were TAC seemed to be the option that demanded the less from us as staff in order to be able to sell vehicles or equipment. They will come on site, take all the photographs, for vehicles that actually run. They will actually video the vehicle running. They take care of all the paperwork. I did provide an example of a sales or a contract provided to me. So their contract stipulates a 7.5% buyer's premium, not buyer's, but seller's premium on the purchase price. So I've just requesting that the board approve the vehicles that I have on the list for surplus, and to allow me to at least, at this point, use TAC. If we're unsatisfied with TAC, then the other viable source would be GovHub. The only thing with GovHub is that we have to take all the photographs and make the vehicles available if the potential buyer wants to come on site and see the vehicle. We're limited as to staffing. We typically don't have onesies and twosies, so to speak. We typically have a lot of vehicles that we need to put up for surplus, and this list is not all inclusive of other vehicles that we have out there that need to be submitted for surplus. That's all I have.
Any discussion?
Yeah, what do we got for sale?
There's a list.
Yeah, I was looking for it, I couldn't find it.
A couple of dump trucks, a couple pickup trucks.
So there was a separate report.
Yeah, I got it. And all this is a sale from our property. It's not going to Macon or going to Columbus.
No, they come out on site, so the buyers, once they purchase the equipment or vehicle, then it's their responsibility to come and take it away.
Okay.
Alan, tax, I'm sort of familiar with these guys. I've actually used them in my personal thing. But how long have they been doing this? And are we the first government entity they've done?
We're not the first, and unfortunately I did not bring. I do have several companies they gave me as references. and one other government. So they haven't been in business very long, not nearly to the extent that GovDeals has been in business. They actually, their first salesman actually saw me out, came on site, visited with me, discussed things with me. He has since left the company, but I've had another manager reach out to me. I believe he is out of Lamar County. The other gentleman was out of Pike. And we do have, there are a couple of local folks that we have in our community that work for TAC part-time.
And is the buyer, if I'm not mistaken, we swapped pages here, but in the agreement there, the terms were, it's a buyer's premium, not a seller's premium. Am I correct? I mean, it says
I may have
sellers,
misspoke.
well, see, it's got a seller's commission, and then there's also a buyer's premium. And how do we get to the 7.5 from 10? I mean, what qualifies us for that? What? Well, he's got a broad range there. He's just, well, maybe you can get, you know.
So in the documentation that I prepared, when we were initially discussing it, it was a 10% premium, but they believed that they could get us a 7.5, so they did provide me, and it's in a separate document that we have. Next. This is the agreement. If you scroll down, there's a 7.5% stipulated in the agreement. Right there, paragraph 8, I believe.
All right, so we're agreeing to 7.5.
Correct.
All right, that answers my question.
Any more discussion? Anybody care to make a motion?
Let me ask you one more question. We ain't got any sheriff's stuff? Cars?
No, I had a separate conversation with the sheriff. It's kind of tied to the acquisition that they're looking at.
Okay. No more questions. Make a motion to approve for TAC to do the auction.
Do I have a second?
I'll say.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Brew?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes. Motion is approved. All right, we move to the next item on the agenda. Discussion and consideration to update banking signature card.
Yes, sir. I just provided that in the documentation. I believe we have a resolution there. This is simply to take two individuals, which was the former chairman and former commissioner, Lorenzo Wilder, off of the signature card for Colony Bank and add the new commissioner,
Biggs.
Christopher Biggs, and the chairman, Dan Brew, on as signers on the accounts that I have listed there. This was the preferred way, well, the only way according to Colonies that they would add and take off signatories was through board action.
Does this require a vote?
Yeah, that was his copy. I'm sorry.
Okay, so my question is, does it require a vote to do it, or we just got to sign?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve
So moved.
signature card?
Second.
Okay. Jessica?
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Brew?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Okay, and we can sign this afterwards?
Yes, I have a separate one. That was his copy. I apologize.
You're all over it. He's the only one that had a copy. Okay. All right, moving right along. Discussion and consideration of vice chair. All right.
I nominate, go ahead and nominate Ben Watson for the job.
I'll second that.
All right. No other discussion? That's the only guy we got?
No comment.
All right. No, I just want to say, first I want to thank you for your time as vice chair. And did have a conversation with Ben. We talked about it during the work session. You know, I appreciate you stepping up and volunteering to be the vice chair. If there's no other discussion, we'll take a vote.
Commissioner Watson,
Abstain?
Chairman Brew,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Definitely.
Mr. Meade.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Okay, and we removed the next item. Okay, and now we're moving on to discussion and consideration of resolution 01.2025 approving the waiver of certain penalties and interest by the Upson County Tax Commissioner. Andy, you want to brief us on
Does
this?
everybody have the handouts with this?
Yes.
Yes,
We got the notes attached to each one. Yeah,
I just have the
that's okay. I'll read
resolution.
it. The first one, resolution approving the waiver of certain penalties and interest by the Upson County Tax Commissioner. I really don't want to read all that off, y'all can read it.
I read it.
Mr. Chairman,
But let me give you the,
I was just gonna say, I've taken a look at that and the code section that you referred to, and it absolutely gives the board the authority to authorize you either piecemeal or completely do what you're asking to do.
yeah, and I think it would be in the public's best interest, those that are watching and listening, to let them know what this is all about, what this form is for, and when I use this resolution. That particular one allows me to waive late interest and penalties when taxes are late through no fault of the taxpayer, such as a tax bill being mailed to a previous owner's address that sold property after January 1st of that tax year. The new owner has 60 days to pay the property tax after it's discovered the property was sold and doesn't have to pay late interest or penalties. Tax bills are mailed to the owner of the property on January 1st of each year. And throughout the year, properties are sold. So by the time we send our tax bills out in early January, you know, properties have sold and we don't know who the new owner is until we get on Q Public and get all that. So many times, these new owners will get a new owner letter, notice of a new owner from me, giving them 60 days to pay their taxes. My property tax software system doesn't realize that, so it automatically attaches late interest and penalties if it goes that far. So this is basically giving me the authority to waive those late interests, which they should be paying if they pay within those 60 days. By law, I have to give a taxpayer 60 days to pay their taxes. It also allows me to waive late interest on mail payments postmarked by the due date, but not received until after the due date, which, you know, that makes, you know, it's common sense that, you know, you got a postmark. We received it in time, so that's what that resolution covers. Any questions on that?
Any more discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Is this limited? Does it say anywhere it's limited to just that? Because this is kind of broad. I mean, you see what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
basically, if we do the way this is written, we give you broad authority to.
Well, there's other resolutions that we're gonna get to that might address some of what you're questioning. But really, I mean, if you got a property tax bill that's $10,000 and it falls within that 60 days, and, you know, that late interest might be $100, you know, by law, they deserve, or this allows me to waive it, and it falls within those 60 days, so by law, it should be waived.
Right. I don't think that's my issue. My issue is that, you know, constitutionally, they got a separation of powers in these offices, and it keeps one from gaining control. And I think, based upon just some of the stuff, it was even talked to about tonight here about being transparent and open. I think that process, with it having to come back to this board, you know, it's open. It's an open process. You know, now it might not necessarily be a convenient process, but it's an open process. And it puts things out there, so nothing's done in a back room or inside. Or, you know, it protects us because we're all talking about it, and it comes for this board, and we'll delegate those duties to the chairman, or this board as a whole will have to vote on. And I don't want any of us or you to relive some of the things that we just got through in the past year, especially with property taxes and appraisals and those type of things. This was the only one that I really had any issue with. The rest of them I read, I'm absolutely fine. And Keith is absolutely correct. It says right what you refer to is fact.
Let me see if I can give you the answer you're looking for. I treat well, first of all, any records, property tax, it's open to the public. That's public info. What goes on with the tax bill, if anybody open requests, I'll give it to them. I can hand out a property tax bill to anybody that asks for it, okay? So as far as me personally, I have no problem if anybody wants to say, hey, why did you waive this? And I'll show them, it's within the guidelines and it'll be up to snuff. I don't waive late taxes. If they're late, if they say they didn't get their tax in the mail, that's not my fault. That's post office or whatever, they pay their taxes every year. I'm pretty adamant about, not waiving late fees if it doesn't fall in that category. So if your concern is, the board and the giving me that authority.
No, say I don't think that. I guess what I'm trying to get here on this, could we maybe just say, okay, if we're going to do this, can we add something here that basically just says, hey, you'll give some type of report to this board, so at least we would know about it. If the quarterly or I don't know what I don't want to ever be asked by a constituent. What about this? Why was this? And I need to be able to find that answer.
I see what you're saying. I'd be open and transparent with it. We can.
If we can put that in here, I'm good with it. That's my, that's the only issue.
Okay.
That's fine. All right, the next one.
Okay, so do we need to vote on individual? So this one is as written, but we're going to modify that there will be a monthly or quarterly report.
What about quarterly?
I think quarterly. Quarterly. It's probably more easy for him. It's easy for us to we can do that quarterly.
And then I'll be the signer once it's redone. So do I have a motion to approve it as modified?
So moved.
Okay.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Brew?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item, again, Tax Commissioner Chastain, is Resolution 02.2025 regarding correction of the tax digest exemptions adjustments to property tax bills and the processing of refunds for taxes, interest, penalty, and fees. It's a lot. Okay.
For public record, this one allows me to adjust tax bills accordingly based on ACOs received from the tax assessor's office, adjustments, corrections, things like that. Appeals, additional inventory not reported on the tax return is one of them. Errors to property assessment or exemptions. The form that you have already signed is what we're talking about.
Right.
It initiates in the tax assessor's office. They say, hey, this needs to be corrected, this needs to have tax added to it, or it needs to be removed. An exemption got removed, it needs to be added back on, and it affects the tax. We have to create refunds and things like that. So that's what this resolution is doing, allowing me the authority to adjust the tax bills accordingly.
But you're already sending us something on that. I thought I've seen that before. So can we just add that language to this one too? Whatever. But you're already doing that. You're already sending us that.
The whole reason, all these forms are already.
Right.
All this is already under the previous chairman. When a new chair comes in or a new tax commissioner comes in.
Okay.
These have to be redone.
I would just request that we add that we would just receive a report. Quarterly to address those, just so we have a way to go back and look if we have a question.
Let me do this, so that's one less report I have to come up with. We send those over for the chairman to sign ever so often. How about you make a copy of them?
We can do that. We can
And
have a
let y'all look at them. Any questions you got, start with me, and if I can't get your answer, we'll go to the tax assessor. That would, that way y'all can put your eyes on it at your work sessions or whatever and see what's going on.
I have seen those in the past, I have seen.
Any further discussion? Have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Chairman Brewer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs.
Yes. Motion carries. Next item, discussion and consideration of resolution 03.2025, matters related to collections of taxes.
Just reading this for public record, we have probably between 25 and 40, depending on what the tax year does for us. Tax bills that come in under $1 due. Some of them have been as low as a penny. And you know what? We've been mailing them out. I have a property tax software system, and you know, they automatically go out, and I can tell my vendor to not send them out because it costs ever so much now to mail. You know, I think 69 cents is our discount amount. I'll probably get a little bit more of a discount through this vendor. And then a lot of times those tax bills come back, it's undeliverable, and we have to track down new anyway. It costs more than $1 for the whole process. So I'm asking that the board allow me to tell my property tax software vendor to not send those bills out. And like I said, it's about 25 to 40 depending on what happens that year.
So moved.
What? Okay, all right.
I mean, we're losing money on those. Okay?
Yeah, that's,
Have a second?
Second. All right, discussion. Before you jump.
You already seconded.
Yeah, but discussion comes after the motion. How many properties are we talking about, roughly, guesstimate? 20, 30, 50?
25 to 40 depending. I mean, it, you know, looking at, I'd almost say $2, you know, $2, but, you know, then you get into.
Well, $2, but it still costs more to chase the money down. But
Yeah, but, you know, once, I don't know, I mean,
Is there any way
some could be said if we go to $2.
is there any way to take that off the tax record for somebody who's got to pay a penny, that it never shows back up?
Yeah. Yeah, that resolution that you authorized me to clean the digest up, that's how it's done. After 7 years, it goes past the statute of limitations for me to collect. I can't legally collect taxes over 7 years old. I can ask them to pay them, but I can't legally collect them. So what I do, I send an ACO that we clean up the tax digest and get those off. It helps with when you do your reporting to financial agencies. You know, when we got a tax digest that does show a lot of delinquent taxes, and those would show us delinquent. These properties that aren't selling show us delinquent, so we clean that stuff up every 7th year and get it off.
Okay.
But yeah, we can.
Yeah, I just, you know, if it keeps coming year after year after year, somebody needs to stop it somewhere. So,
Well, I mean, you have to generate taxes based on what the property is valued at. And some of these properties are valued pretty low, you know. But it's, I mean, it just makes sense.
Okay.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Chairman Brewer,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington.
yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs.
Yes.
Motion carries. And I believe that's the last one you
We
have?
got one more authorization to receive
Some
checks.
of that.
Okay. I have
This
it
this has been in existence since the days of Rex Turner. I don't know, and probably before that, when people started writing checks, believe it or not, some of those checks don't clear the bank. And back in the old days, you know, you collected with cash or just whatever. So, you know, this is just saying it's okay for me to take checks, and even though that doesn't guarantee we've received the taxes. But anybody writes a bad check, I assure you, we chase them down and we get our money.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Chairman Brew?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
Okay, that is the end of the agenda, except for comments. County Manager.
Mr. Chairman, 2 items, and one of which you may want to cover in your own comments as well, but first was our trip to the additional training we had on our new legislation that governs the new homestead exemption. And specifically, for the benefit of the board members that weren't able to attend, we learned a couple of new things that we were a bit unsure of before, but I think the most significant of those is that sort of came in a conversation that I had with a ACCG representative after the chairman and I left, which was that I think we were, or I was wrongfully assuming that our current local exemption would be an if-then comparison to the new exemption, meaning that it qualified as a floating homestead exemption and would have to go through this comparison process to whichever was the greater for the taxpayer, and then a decision would be made which one to apply. Well, after further discussion with folks that are more familiar with this than I am, I think we've now been given the guidance that it does not qualify as a floating homestead under the definition of the legislation, and therefore it would be granted in addition to the state exemption. So I know in the work session we had discussed that as both not applying, but I think now the guidance is they both will apply.
You sure?
Yes. Yes.
I don't think they're even sure. That's good for us
And,
old
and,
people.
and essentially, and I know we discussed this at length at the work session, but essentially what it is because ours is a flat rate discount and it's not necessarily tied to any form of assessment, that it doesn't meet that definition of, even though it is adjusted for CPI, and we just adjusted ours again another 2.75%, according to our own local legislation. So in essence, taxpayers would get the benefit of both exemptions. So good news for taxpayers. I'm glad we did a little extra due diligence on that. I'll let the chairman cover some of the other things we discovered. We did hear from our software vendor, and ours meaning the assessor's office software vendor, and they have already begun to write this new legislation into the code. So our provider is way ahead of the game, so we do not anticipate any delays as a result of the change. So we were given a pretty firm indication that we would not be behind the curve trying to implement this new legislation. So those are the 2 comments I wanted to make as that was fresh on my mind from our trip yesterday. Additionally, just a quick follow-up from the work session, which you'll find in your shared folder. I spent the latter part of this afternoon updating our dashboard to include just some of the items that we also discussed at the work session previously. So, and I labeled it as draft. It's in your current agenda folder, so have a look at it, and then please provide me any feedback that you have on it, and then I'll have that ready so you can look at it more formally in a future meeting. But it is out there. Jessica helped me separate it into 2 tabs. So the first tab that you'll see is all of the items that we had not classified as complete the last time you adopted it. And then you'll go to the next tab, all the ones that had been classified as complete. So have a look and offer any guidance or any recommendations you may have, and we'll consider this a living, working document for the next meeting or so until we can formalize some sort of adoption of it. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that's the
Do you
end
want
of
to talk about floss for a second? Where we're at on floss?
We certainly can, but if you want, I can chime in during your comments if you have.
I think you're clearer than I am.
And you're referring to our
The ability.
our
to-
eligibility, yes. So as we had assumed, we did confirm that we would, our current basket of local sales taxes would not prohibit us from seeking an additional penny as part of this new taxation legislation. So there are counties that would be disqualified from that because of the local pennies that they levy. We did confirm that we are not one of those counties, so that would be available to the board for a November referendum if you wanted to call for that referendum. Keeping in mind that it's a up to a 1 penny sales tax that cannot generate any additional revenue for the county. It would only be to roll back property taxes. So a non-windfall tax is the way Department of Revenue describes it.
Is that all property tax? Or just homeowner property tax?
East Washington is exempt.
All property tax, not just homestead.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Biggs, any?
Yes, as a newly elected commissioner, I'd like to say thank you to everyone. I would also like to give a great thank you to the water department for the water main break last week out on Jeff Davis Road. They did a fantastic job.
Right, John.
Job well done. Thank you.
Commissioner Jones?
Appreciate everybody showing up, everybody watching on YouTube. This new property tax bill, you know, we got to sit down and discuss how it's going to do, and you know, make sure we're doing the right by the people out here. I want. When we got to have this done?
There's really no actions required by us. So the only action that the board would need to take is if you wanted to opt out of it.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're going to talk about it, but, you know, there's other entities in this county that, I don't mind saying it. You know, the Board of Education is opting out, as far as I know, and that's a heck of a hit on your property taxes. But we're going to do right by the people. We've already got a great homestead exemption for seniors, and I'm proud of how this board's moving. That's it.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes, sir, I got several things I'd like to say. First of all, I'm out the gate, and I'm kind of making a broad statement here, but I really look forward to working with both the new chairman and the new district commissioner. You know, our first work session was a little bit awkward. I mean, it was new faces, new people. But despite what some may think, I'm going to say this. I do have an agenda. My agenda is to do what's best for the citizens of Upson County and my district. And doing that is working with these two gentlemen and the rest of the gentlemen sitting up here. Despite what some may think, that's what I'm going to do. And I hope that makes you mad, because that's what I'm going to do. The other thing is I think we need to schedule some type of retreat or something so we can stay on path to kind of lay out a year to see what we're going to do. I mean, we typically have that in February. You know, the sooner we can nail down a time we can do it, where we're going to do it, how long we're going to take to do it, nail down an agenda. All that sounds like we can do that in 15 minutes, but that's in reality that's not true. We got times to deal with, people's work schedules, etc. So I think that's important. I really am looking forward to discussing some of this, the pros and cons of this, new bill on taxes. I mean, overwhelmingly, me included, in Upson County, voted for it. And I think our citizens deserve an answer on which way we're going to go, and don't just sit silent until the last minute. They're anxious. They want to know. And if what we're going to do, if we're going to opt in, then we just need to say we're going to opt in, but we need to be. I think the citizens deserve to know that, because I've had people already ask me. And the other thing is I appreciate the people that came here tonight. I'm looking forward to this year, to doing some good things here. And, you know, it's a new day, a new time, and we got some new people, and I'm excited about it. Thank y'all.
Yeah, I'd also like to welcome Chairman Brew and Commissioner Biggs. Looking forward to all the work we got ahead of us. I know Mr. Biggs for quite some time when I was probably a young boy at the hospital, so it's going to be a pleasure. And I was also going to thank Ben and his team for the work they did Thursday night. It was cold, and I don't envy your job whatsoever, but thank you. That's it.
Okay. Just a couple of things for me. I'll piggyback on HB 581. We did go to the training. So he's, as he said, it looks like it's the 10,500 and some change fixed homestead exemption from Upson County, and then a floating homestead from the state. That is great for the taxpayer. That will adjust the estimated value of your home, your assessed value, tremendously, and has a break for inflation. However, we still have to operate the county, right? And so we have to have, unfortunately, taxes to do that, right? So what could that mean if the tax digest goes down, right? It would mean the millage rate would probably go up in order to have the funds necessary to do the things that we need to do, all right? That's just a balancing act. What the bill also allows for us is what they call the floss. So, you know, the local option sales tax to offset property tax, because in the end, it doesn't matter if your assessment on your property went down. If the millage rate went up, your taxes are pretty much going to be the same, right? And so what this does is allows us to roll back taxes and on the entire digest, right? The entire digest. So it's not just homesteaders that are getting the break with up to a penny. It can be as little as 0.05 cent, which doesn't sound like much, but it can be up to a penny. So I just want everyone to understand there's multiple things that we have to consider as we do this. I think it's a great idea. I think HB 581 is a great idea to keep our properties in check, but we still have to figure out how we're going to run the county. And so as we look at this, we just need to be thinking ahead. There's probably going to have to be some portion of a penny in order to do that. All right. And then the last thing I want to say is thank everyone for coming. It's a good size audience here tonight. We are on YouTube as well. I spoke extensively about transparency when I ran, and I appreciate the public being here. I appreciate the YouTube Live. And I talked about being involved, right? So we are going to have some openings on some boards, and we do need people to apply for boards. We have one position that's been out there, I think, since before I started running for office, right? We have nobody else applied for it yet. So I'll just ask you, encourage others to be involved, come to the meetings, watch on YouTube, join a board. My goal is to have as many residents of Upson County as possible engaged in the business of Upson County, making Upson County a place we all want to live, work, and play. I appreciate you coming out here tonight, and that's really all I have. I thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Thank you all.
Good job.
Under an hour.
Now, you know, when the freshman legislatures go to the well the first time, they normally get ragged.